What's happening there, fans of the OBR and the OBR streaming network? My name is Joe Mazzulla. This is Pete Smith, and welcome to this week's edition of Pete and Joe, talking Browns, talking new defensive coordinator, talking our free safety getting jumped in the Big Apple. We're talking about Joel Bitonio's date getting pushed back. That's an interesting one. Pete Smith, my man, how are you? It's good to see you.
I'm good. You should read what I just sent you.
Just sent me out what? Via text, or did you send
just
me
in the chat?
Is it not? We're live, no?
Nope.
I got 31 people watching right now.
Oh, do you? Well, that is not what I said. All right. Well, that's good. All right.
Yeah. Crisis averted.
Good deal. So, yeah, look, I am good. I am happy our short-term nightmare is over. The news that I just saw like 20 minutes ago is fascinating, given one of the hires the Browns made, which is that the Browns hired the assistant special teams coach for the Green Bay Packers, and Rich Bisaccia just stepped down. So, like, all of his assistants are gone, and now he's basically stepped down from the Packers. So, I don't know if they would have hired the guy the Browns would have hired, but we'll never know, given the fact that he currently works here. But look, the thing for me with Rutenberg, when it was sort of narrowed down to three choices, my attitude was he was the least objectionable of the three. And my issues with Tarver are entirely selfish. I don't want to promote him because I don't want to fire him. Now, having said all that, and Corey Entland, I have mentioned many times, his 1 year as defensive coordinator, his team gave up 519 points, which is an insane amount. 40 plus in like 5 games. But the more I learned about Rutenberg, and I'm really interested to actually hear him talk, I'm very intrigued by what he's going to bring to the table, because he is – we've talked about this last week. I was really interested at the idea of bringing in somebody who's more coaching this from the back end than the front end. Jim Schwartz can coach all of it, but he's still a defensive line guy at heart. This guy has been a linebackers coach predominantly, but he has a good understanding of how to design and scheme up coverages, which is really – if he can do it, if he can upgrade the Browns in that area, they could be really, really good. And obviously, look, by virtue of Jim Schwartz leaving, there is a very real possibility this defense will take a step back. But if this guy is as advertised, and I've seen nothing but positive things about him, granted, he's never been a defensive coordinator, and there's risks with that. We've still got to see what's going to happen with the staff. But, like, I'm really curious to see how he wants to sort of adjust what the Browns have been doing coverage-wise, because certainly there are elements in this where we go, the Browns are too aggressive and they're giving up gaps and all these other things. But by and large, the complaints we usually have come down to coverage bust. So if he can address that, if he can give the Browns that other look, that change up that Jim Schwartz never seemed to be able to find, then that's going to be really interesting. And allegedly a very good teacher, certainly important for his role. But we'll see what he has to say. I'm looking forward to whenever he actually gets to speak and all that stuff. But for as late in the process as this whole thing worked out to be for the Browns, it feels like they got a really good candidate relative to the options they had, and somebody who was like going to get a good job somewhere and basically jumped at the opportunity to coach the Browns because look at what they've got on defense.
Yeah, and that's kind of my take on it as well. I like where the guy comes from, right? He started in 2003 under Greg Williams by quality control in Washington, right? And then he moved on to, he's got some ties to the Legion of Boom and Pete Carroll because he worked under Gus Bradley. Then he went with Saleh, and the last year with Raheem Mostert. Raheem Morris, I'm sorry. Look, I like his resume. I love the fact he's a great communicator and a great teacher. I love that. I have no problem taking a shot on a coordinator, especially with the talented defense that we have. I feel like there's some built-in guardrails for a coach that is, new to this specific position. I think the defense is that talented that it's worth it for us to take a shot on a guy who can help out the back end, because we talked about it all season, Pete. That was the only issue we had with the defense, is that maybe doing some more creative things, disguising coverages or some back end stuff. Granted, the offense never helping kind of limited how much we really got to see Jim Schwartz take it out for a spin. But I want to say the last 4 or 5 years, the big plays we always give up, it's always zone coverage and it's always miscommunication on the back end. So if he can nip some of those problems in the butt, man, I'm all for it.
Yeah, my mind immediately goes to the Vikings game. I immediately go to Carson Wentz beating you as Denzel Ward's in not a great position to play cover 2. Can this guy come in and give you something else? And at least by reputation, it's what he's done is what intrigues me is disguises, because that's what the NFL is right now. It is disguise coverages. If you just go out there, with what the Browns do, because of the talent they have, the Browns can win a whole lot when the offense knows what's coming, because they can just outdo you. You have Myles Garrett, you have Mason Graham, you have just a really good defensive line. You have the defensive rookie of the year in Carson Wentz. You had Devin Bush, you had Denzel Ward, you have Tyson Campbell. We go down the list, man. They have a lot of really good players. But if they can get to a point where now, like, and the one example where Jim Schwartz crushed it, to his everlasting credit, is Green Bay. The Green Bay game, where they show like it's going to be straight man coverage, and then Grant Delpit steps right in front of that tight end. The quarterback misreads the slant, and Grant Delpit gets the interception, what ultimately is like sets them up to tie and then ultimately win the game. Incidentally, the Green Bay Packers lost that game in part because of terrible special teams. Yay! This is the whole bit. But yeah, I mean, Jim Schwartz gets all the credit in the world for that, and there were elements of that where that happened. I'll go to Ronnie Hickman's interception against the Jets. They completely fooled the one he scored for a touchdown, which is obviously the 2023 season. But like, if Rutenberg can do more of these things where you have Denzel Ward, you have Tyson Campbell, and they find the right fit, because we're going to sit here and we're going to say, well, they're not really good at zone compared to man. But what's the right way to disguise and switch into that gives them something where they are really good? Yeah. And hopefully he can find the answer, because if he does, and they can upgrade that setup, great. What does it look like in terms of, you mentioned all the sort of overarching influences. The Jeff Ulbrich one is really interesting to me too.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to get a better answer to this, but it sounds to me like Jeff Ulbrich took care of the front, and then he was sort of like the guy in charge of the back in terms of like overall strategy. Obviously, Ulbrich called it, Ulbrich ran it and everything, but I'm just talking about like weekly prep. My impression is that as the defensive pass game coordinator, he's focusing on that, and Jeff Ulbrich is like largely manning the front, the blitz packages and all that stuff. How does he sort of get that to work? And obviously, with the Jets and the Falcons, they were playing more odd front, getting into even front stuff, but they were sending pressure packages from all over the place. How does he want to do that with what is usually going to be even front? Obviously, you can do some stuff with mugging up the guards or whatever with your linebackers. You've got really talented linebackers that can allow you to do a whole lot of different things like that. So it's a whole lot of really interesting concepts, because you can, this is with what the Browns have, you can go nuts on a whiteboard. Now, obviously there's a point where that becomes, problematic, that you're trying to do too many things. But like, I genuinely am curious to see, what does this guy with a new set of ideas want to do with this very talented group? Clearly they have a sort of general sense of how they want to do these things, but nope. That guy's not taking the job to run Jim Schwartz's defense, nor should he. Like, I don't want him to do that. As I said from the get-go, I want somebody to institute and bring some new ideas to the table, because part of this, and Rutenberg fits in this, he's 44 years old, younger coach. Can he sort of evolve this thing and take it to the next step, which is what we all hope to see, even as a first-year coordinator with all the things to come with that. I just want to see what he wants to do.
Yeah, I hear that. I mean, we'll learn more when we eventually talk to him in a presser, when we talk to him in a combine, but this isn't something that's going to be fleshed out until we actually see it on the field and we see it put into practice. Are you surprised that they went with a guy who's a first-time coordinator?
No, because
not do you think it's problematic? Does it surprise you, though? Because I don't have a problem with it, but I am a little surprised by it.
Well, there was only one or two candidates that had previous coordinator experience out of the 6. Tarver, and then, well, I should say NFL coordinator experience. Like Banda has been a DC in college. Yeah. Well, I don't think the 2 other external candidates had any defensive coordinator experience. So it seemed like rather than focus on the experience, he focused on who's the up and coming guy. And I think in a lot of ways, it's Todd Monken sort of tapping into guys he thinks are like him, because he's hiring a first-time special teams coach, first-time offensive coordinator, first-time defensive coordinator, and he is a first-time head coach. If I'm just reading this from the outside, my impression is he wanted to get super ambitious guys that have a lot to prove and are going to give you everything they have because they don't know if they're ever going to get another shot at this. That obviously has a lot of appeal to it because you're going to get guys who really want to prove themselves, but experience does help. There's no question of that. But on the flip side of that, there's no risk of a guy like finding himself in a bad situation and it's just sort of playing out the string, waiting for the end of the year, and then like going on to another job that's going to be as good because there's no guarantee they're going to get one. They could be Corey Unlin, where you give up 519 points this season, and then you have some smoke like me bring it up every time he's mentioned as positive coordinator.
Yeah, I kind of had a gripe. I was listening to local radio today, and they were hammering on the fact that when you're as inept as they are and they have a bad process, the Browns are going to be relegated to these no-name coordinators because nobody else wants the job. We in Cleveland tend to overrate the job because of the players involved, but the NFL is showing us that people aren't all that interested, judging by the group of candidates that we had. And I mean, I'll be honest with you, Pete, it kind of pissed me off. I think that's totally disingenuous. I think, we went through a whole coaching search before we settled on our head coach, and then we lost our defensive coordinator. That's naturally going to put you at a disadvantage and kind of behind the 8 ball. What's your take on that assertion?
Well, I mean, the head coaching hire process to me is ultimately fine. It's going to get jeers by virtue of it's the Browns, so the assumption is they're going to screw it up. Yeah, and unfortunately, more often than not, that proves out to be true. As far as the defensive coordinator thing, there's blame to be placed in terms of how it was handled. That largely, by all reporting, falls on the owner. But I think it was perfectly reasonable to expect that Jim Schwartz didn't get this job. There was no situation where he was going to just sit here and be the defensive coordinator again. No matter how smoothly or nicely they handled it, his whole thought process, from people I've talked to, is basically like, if this is what you think of me, so I'm out. So by virtue of the fact that the owner did, stub his toe on this and make a potentially bad situation worse, that's always going to look bad. Then for Monken, I think he handled it fine. I wanted him to look around. One, you have to fulfill the Rooney Rule and all that stuff. But I'm glad he opened it up to see what he's out there. I would have been excited to see what Ephraim Banda could have done at DC. But if the reports are true and he wasn't one of the final 3, okay, fine. Hire the guy you want. Rutenberg, we'll see what he can do. But I like the fact that for Todd Monken, he does not, outside of the fact that he didn't get to do this in sort of January, or at least try to start doing this in January, like, if he was here a whole year and then decided to make a change, he didn't allow himself to get cheated, which is what you want. He gets to feel good about his choice, hopefully, that he went through it. And, as he stated in the press conference, his whole thing was don't get tired as you're trying to look for stuff. So good. Hopefully that led to a good result. And when it comes to that, everything's going to be, we'll see what happens, because if, the Browns give up 28 in the first half on week 1, then everybody's going to go, how could they possibly let Jim Schwartz? Meanwhile, if, the Browns shut out the first team they play, there's going to be a lot of Jim who. So, I mean, a lot of this comes down to results and how we frame it, particularly as it relates to the Cleveland Browns. I mean, the trend with the Browns is laugh first, correct later, if you correct at all. So we'll see. I mean, in terms of how Todd Monken did, you can certainly make an argument to the experience, the fact that most people don't know who any of these guys are. And then they're going to go, why should I be impressed by this? Which is entirely fair. I think if you contrast that against Kevin Stefanski when he was hired, Kevin Stefanski did not have a wide network of people. He was an offensive coordinator for 1 year. So he had to go outside of his network. Now, he did get Bill Callahan. He did get some other guys with more of a proven track record, which lended him some credibility. But Todd Monken has been a coordinator. He has been, at various stops, and he has built up this network. So he, got guys he believes in or trusts or has a working knowledge with. And that may be the right play for him. Now, the risk is maybe he did put guys in positions they're not necessarily ready for, and he may have to correct for that. But as Kevin Stefanski did with a couple of his hires, that's sort of how this thing goes. You're constantly going to be evolve the process, and it's rare that you're just going to keep everybody for more than the entire staff from 1 year to the next.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's the league anymore. There's constant turnover, whether it's the coaching staff or the roster, even the front office. I mean, there's pieces that move every offseason, and all that stuff. We had some cuts starting to fly out. We had Tyreek. The Dolphins are making some moves. Some speculated to get a little cap space to make a run at Malik Willis. I think the Dolphins are possibly going to go 2016 Browns and just absolutely gut, start from scratch, and let the Green Bay guys build. Anybody of the Tyreek Hill, Bradley Chubb, or James Daniels trio, if the price is not ludicrous, interest you in any way, shape, or form?
No. I'm not going anywhere near Tyreek Hill. Bradley Chubb's interesting if you're the right team. There are a whole lot, like, he's going to have interest.
Yeah.
Would not shock me at all if he ends up in San Francisco as the next 1 year deal for the 49ers and that type of thing. But there are a lot of teams that could use him. The Ravens could use him, for example, just within this division. The Bengals could use him.
Yeah.
We'll see where he ends up going. James Daniels, I think, played 3 snaps last year.
He did.
So, like,
just 3.
He's a veteran who's going to make some decent money. How much do you really want to pay for a guy that you don't want to play? I don't know. A lot will depend. James Daniels is also pretty scheme specific. If that would be a very big hint as to what the Browns want to do on the offensive line. He is a zone guy.
Yeah.
Pure all the way. Could theoretically play center, but has seemingly been more of a guard.
Didn't he come out of BC as a center?
Yes.
I thought I remember that, yeah.
He was a center. And just has sort of become a journeyman guy you don't really want to have to play, but I don't know. So, like, I'm not particularly interested. He's 28.
Yeah.
Which isn't old, but I'll be curious to see how much the Browns are interested in that. So for him, it's really, if the price is right, maybe there's a scenario where they're all about it.
Yeah.
I'm not, he does nothing for me.
Well, the reason I asked specifically about him is I feel like the offense. I mean, we've got 5 spots on the O-line available, Pete. Right? If not, more if you're counting depth. So I feel like in the past we've seen Andrew Berry do a lot of 1-year band-aids with 1-year prove-it deals with vets. Right?
Yep.
I feel like you could see at least 2 of those starting positions filled with that, and then maybe propped up with a draft pick to sit behind him and maybe take over eventually. I mean, you're not going to get all 5 future starters this year, right? So you're going to have to do a little patchwork here and there. I feel like Daniels, I mean, if he gets a clean bill of health, can at least be a name that you discuss. But along with all this, the franchise tag window is opening up now.
Yep.
Now, the only name that I even care about in this cycle for the franchise tag is Tyler Linderbaum. I feel like you're probably the same way. I don't think Baltimore's going to tag him, but I'm going to be nervous as hell for the next 2 weeks.
No, because it immediately goes on your cap. You now have to make room for that. You're not just sitting there. And I think it's gonna be like 23 million because it's average of all the top offensive linemen, not just top centers. So
yeah,
I don't think the Ravens are remotely interested in having 23 million sitting in their cap when Tyler Linderbaum that has no reason to sort of just like rush into anything. He could sit there until July with that cap number, and the Ravens would have to work around it. So I don't think they're going to do that. They have other issues they want to do. They want to be able to be aggressive in the way that they are. They're going to have a whole bunch of people leaving anyway. I think they are going to make their best pitch to try to keep him, and then the rest is going to go. My assumption is that he's going. The thing I've sort of heard is that in order for Linderbaum to even be realistic, they need to work out the contract extension with Lamar Jackson. So that, more than the window, is what I'm interested in seeing. If somehow, some way, the Ravens suddenly come out with a contract extension with Lamar Jackson, then I go, uh-oh, maybe they are serious about keeping Linderbaum. But that in itself may not be something that the Ravens are necessarily prepared to do. I don't know if they want to be, attached to Lamar Jackson for potentially 6 more years at this point.
Well, not just that. His prior negotiations have not been smooth. Nope. So imagining them trying to figure out, an extension with like the time frame of the next 2 weeks so we can, know whether or not we're going to be able to get limited. I mean, that's a tall task. That's got to be something that they've been working on for, months if you're going to expect to get it done at a quick slot like that. Well, let's go over the list here, and I put on your GM cap, Pete. I'm going to go over a list of names, and you tell me whether if you were the GM of this team, you would apply the tag to these players. We got a decent list here. We got George Pickens in Dallas.
100%.
Yeah. Okay.
Even if it's just to entertain trades, like if I'm the Cowboys, I would at least think about it because the prospect of giving him $160 million is frankly terrifying.
It's frightening. Yes.
But you cannot let him just walk out into the market and potentially
be that's the scarier option, Pete. I'm afraid to pay him, but I'm more afraid to let him out of the building.
Yes. 100%.
And Chris, I do believe Lamar's mom is still his agent in some capacity. Is that Pete? Do we know on
yes,
that?
I mean, more or less. This is what's funny when people got so outraged at the Myles Garrett thing is people completely forgot about how the acrimony between the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. The owner of the Baltimore Ravens insinuated that Lamar Jackson was a child, and that when he cleaned up his room, they could get down to business and negotiate the contract. Like it was ugly, and everybody in Baltimore thought he was gone.
Oh yeah,
and. Yes. You got into a whole thing where if you paid attention to where the collusion stuff went, that was a huge element. And I will forever call the Falcons owner a huge coward because they people will defend it and go, well, they didn't want to like sign Lamar Jackson to some kind of offer sheet and be handicapped by all that cap being attached to it until it was sorted out. Meanwhile, they started with Desmond Ridder that season. Like that was their quarterback. Imagine being able to get Lamar Jackson versus Desmond Ridder, and where the Falcons might be if they had gotten that deal. That is 2 MVP, or what? One MVP, maybe 2. And he should have gotten another one. So, and like. There are Falcons fans who will defend to the hilt that this was like some reasonable. They didn't call him. They never called him. So that's where you get into that. But that contract negotiation was ugly, and like Steve Bisciotti, who never gets much grief, that was the first time I've seen like media and fans pissed at Steve Bisciotti.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move over to Indianapolis. Okay, the Colts have 2 options here. You've got Daniel Jones coming off the Achilles injury. And then you got Alec Pierce, the wide receiver, just getting out of his rookie contract out of Cincinnati. What would you do there if you're the Colts?
I might franchise Pierce.
Yeah.
And it comes down to the whole, he had 1,000 yards. He was pretty good. But and they can afford to pay him if they really want to.
Mhm.
There's nothing preventing them. I've seen people suggest like they might have to trade Michael Pittman or something. They have plenty. They have like $35 million in cap space, and they haven't done anything in terms of like manipulating the contract. So they got all the money they could want. But Alec Pierce has had like literally this was his first 1,000-yard season, and he's going to get something like $20 million a year on the open market in a deal.
Yeah,
I might be tempted to franchise him for a year and see if he can keep it going. Now, obviously, that is linked to what you think you are going to do at quarterback. Because if you don't have a great plan at quarterback, like if they're sitting there going, yeah, we're going to go after Malik Willis, okay, then yeah, more reason for me to franchise him. Because then I keep Pittman, Pierce. I've got Tyler Warren, who's okay. I've got a really good running back. Yeah. I've got a pretty strong offensive line. Like Tyler, you get a guy like Malik Willis in there, and you're going, okay, this could be really good. And obviously, they don't have a first-round pick this year, so that's another incentive for them to do it. I still think they're probably going to end up coming to an agreement with Daniel Jones because obviously they thought enough of him to
give up the 2-1s,
give up the picks for Sauce, and they maybe will get him at like a reasonable rate for a year, and then like work back into a longer-term deal because they seem to really like him. He seems to. Obviously, before the injury, he was doing really well. I mean, they were 7-1 at one point or something.
Well, and you got to think with him, you're rehabbing an injury. You want comfortability. You want like a team that knows you and a team that knows what you're about. So it's like I wouldn't expect him to hit the open market and have his head on a swivel. Like I think he's going to be pretty Indianapolis centric too. So if I'm him, I'd be like, look, we're going to figure this out. I want to be in Indy. Go ahead and use the tag on Pierce and keep him in tow, and then we'll figure us out in the aftermath.
Yeah, I mean, and they could just try to negotiate a long-term deal with Pierce. It's just a question of do they believe that's enough?
Yeah,
because I could easily, I think Alec Pierce is a nice receiver, but I could easily see a world where he signs an astronomical contract and is a massive disappointment 2 seasons.
Yeah,
that's just so often how those things go. And I certainly don't want to be the team that does that, but the Colts are a little bit, in a tougher spot. Again, lack of draft picks. Do they really have a great option to sort of go in a different direction? Unclear. I'd seriously consider it.
Okay. Now, how about the first big decision for Kevin Stefanski outside of what to do with his pass rusher?
I don't think there is any decision to be made on that one. I think
and Kyle Pitts he's getting tagged. I feel pretty safe in saying that.
It's the easiest decision they have to make because the franchise tag value is like $13 million.
Yeah.
Which is more than reasonable enough. If you can get another great season out of him, I have major questions about, how much of that was the contract year and all that, but whatever. Kevin Stefanski loves tight ends. If he can build on that and Kevin Stefanski will get him the ball, like that could be a really, really good setup. So yeah, that's easy.
How about this one? So this was on the list. Are the Bengals able to tag Trey Hendrickson again? Or are they did they work it into like a 1-year deal that they can't tag him again?
It sounds like they can.
Yeah.
Part of me.
I feel like that's petty enough for the Bengals to do.
Part of me would be like, if you're Trey Hendrickson, and I know he wants a longer term deal, but part of me is like, the second they franchise him, sign it.
Yeah.
Because the Bengals at that point are like, we're screwed. We can't do this. The petty move from the Bengals is to franchise him all the way and then just pull the tag. Yeah. Like I could see the Bengals doing that because they're just so petty. I don't think they're going to do it because I don't think they want to get themselves into a mess with this whole thing that they can't get out of. And like I said, if he signs it, I don't think they can afford it.
Yeah.
And it would just completely stop them from doing all the other stuff that they would want to do while they're sitting there with, again, a massive like $25 million, whatever it is, cap. It might be more than that. It might be closer to like 35 at this point. God only knows because of deals like Parsons and Garrett and Watt. I mean, the average is insane. So,
and isn't it when you do the tag in consecutive years, doesn't it jump a considerable percentage too?
It does.
Doesn't it kind of stack?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't think they're going to do it. I think the Bengals are going to take the 3rd round pick they get in compensatory value and move on. At best, they could do it. If they have productive conversations at the combine and they get some sort of like setup where, Hendrickson's agent already knows where they want to go. And they're like, hey, this team's willing to give you this. If you tag and we trade the rights and all that stuff, maybe there's a world where that happens, but I think they're just going to let him walk out the door.
Okay. How about a couple running backs? How about Breece Hall with the Jets and then Kenneth Walker with the Seahawks? I mean, I doubt either guy gets the tag, but
at best, I could see the transition tag for Breece Hall.
Mm-hmm.
Kenneth Walker is going to be elsewhere, and they're going to take another back and be happy. Not that they're happy to lose him, but they'll be fine because they want to use their resources elsewhere, and they're really, really good. I don't think they're going to mess with it. I think that one's easy. Breece Hall, interesting if you go transition tag, because then you're just allowing another team to sort of theoretically negotiate the deal
for you. Yeah.
Or, they don't, and you just do it, but it ensures that you keep him. What do the Jets really want to be? Theoretically, they could have a really good offensive line, or at least the building blocks to a really good offensive line. But what is this team going to be this year? Do they really want to just have a running back on the team to then just get trampled over and over and maybe suffer a significant injury? I thought the Jets were stupid not to trade him at the deadline. I thought the Chiefs were stupid not to give up with the asking price at the deadline.
Yeah.
So that's the one where it's sort of weird, and I don't know what the Jets were thinking with that process. Other than, like, don't get me wrong, Breece Hall is a good player.
What's his Madden rating though, Pete?
That's a good question. I mean,
let's get Brick on the line. To hold on to him for a little bit.
let's get Brick on the line. His injury rating might be low. Yeah. So, like, what are the Jets trying to do? Because on one hand, they seem to be openly trying to position themselves to get, whether it's Arch or whoever.
Yeah.
But so why would you keep a really good running back? It would be nice for the quarterback to have a really good running back because he's got to survive long enough to get there. And Braylon Allen's coming off a major injury as well. So there is just a question of how the Jets think they're going to operate this element. So transition tag, I could see it. I could also see him just walking.
Yeah.
But again, if they didn't trade him, why wouldn't you? It's just bizarre. If you didn't trade him, it seems like you're going to try to do something to keep him.
Well, at least they did that, and they didn't pull the Butch Davis and not trade him and then cut him 2 weeks later. But it was a 4th-round pick we turned down too, wasn't it?
Yes, 4th-round pick for James Jackson. Butch Davis is like, no, and then 2 weeks later, get out.
And James Jackson wasn't even playing a ton at the time.
No,
he was like the 3rd running back.
They had William Green.
Yeah. And William Green, they had Jamel White. They had, was Ben Gay on the roster at that point? I think he was only 2001, right?
Yeah.
That was 2003.
Butch Davis. What a jacket.
All right. Well, hey. All right. So NFL.com, Matt Okada came out with an article about potential cuts. And there were a slew of guys on there that I thought maybe could potentially be a fit in some capacity. There's one name on here that I do not want to touch, but Andrew Berry's been infatuated with for the last 2 years. Obviously, let's talk about number one. Let's talk about Denzel Ward being a potential cut. I love that. That's easily my favorite. But let me get your take on this one.
Like, does Denzel Ward suddenly have no trade value at all? They can't get anything for him, so they're just going to cut him. Nothing. This is where did he have to pick somebody for every team, and then he just picked Denzel Ward? Is that what this was?
Yes.
So, okay, I guess from that standpoint, you sit there and you go, well, I guess he's kind of getting up there for a corner, and he's had injury issues and whatever. So I guess, but if they really want to move on from Denzel Ward, and I think there's a conversation you could have, an unpopular one, but one you could have, and somebody's like, hey, we'll give you a massive pick for this, and you're like, okay, I get it, but cutting him is insane. They're not going to do that. Obviously, they want to keep him. He doesn't want to go anywhere either. That's also part of this. And the Browns have not been inclined to get rid of good players who actually want to be here.
Okay. All right. Well, let's look at some of the names from his article though. The first one I'm going to read is right in your wheelhouse, and it's Las Vegas Raider quarterback Geno Smith. And I know you'd be thrilled with that, although you probably might not like that because then he can choose his destination, and he might not choose to come to Cleveland. So, are you package a conditional seventh rounder and get him via trade, or are you going to chance it and go after him in the free agent market?
No, I trade for him.
Yeah.
And I do think you have to move quickly on this because I think 18.5 million of his salary gets guaranteed after a certain date.
Yeah.
And that would the Raider, or it might just be 18.5 guaranteed. I don't know. But he's on the hook for like 26.5 million for this season and 39 million for next season, which he's never going to see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would easily flip a 7th round pick to get Geno Smith here at the 26.5 million if they've got to, do the whole, defer some of that money for a year to create rollover cap and all that magic stuff. Great. And void years. That's fine. I would not want to chance it because I could easily see Geno Smith go a couple places that would really irritate me. One of them would be Indianapolis. But here's my litmus test for all of this, for how people really feel about this. And there are a lot of people who just don't like Geno Smith. But how would he look in the Pittsburgh Steelers uniform? Irritating is the right answer. And the other thing with Geno Smith, I don't know how many people actually watch Geno Smith. Geno Smith is like Shedeur Sanders with more mobility, more arm strength. He does all the stuff people want Shedeur Sanders to do, except he's just better at it because he's been doing it for a long time. Like, I went back and watched a whole bunch of his 2024 stuff. Like, he's really good in a lot of that stuff. Now, there are interceptions. There's some things he does that are madness, but he is a playmaker in the same way that people think Shedeur is. And like, I have no reason to believe that the Raiders weren't the worst he's ever going to be because the Raiders were just a disaster. 2, I think the Browns can build up around him and get pretty good, reasonable anyway. And then 3, I have more faith in Todd Monken that he can design an offense around it, particularly if he really did like Shedeur Sanders, because as I just said, Geno Smith does a lot of the same things. Like, if he had some idea of what he'd like to do with Shedeur Sanders, obviously maybe not as a starter, but just as a player, he liked them enough as a player. So something had to be rolling around in his head about what he might want to do with them. He could do those things with Geno Smith and be pretty good. I don't expect him to reinvent the wheel, but like, it's just very hard for me to ignore how good he was in 2022 to 2024 and then just immediately go, well, he sucks. And it reminds me of Jeff Garcia going from really good to Cleveland Browns to then Tampa, where he's immediately really good again.
Amazing. Yeah.
So my theory of the case is, 1, you're buying super low on this and you are addressing the position. If Shedeur Sanders can beat him out, great. That means we are in really good shape as far as I'm concerned, or he died. Either way, you have a real quarterback that everybody's going to sit there and go, this is not, and I was happy the Browns got Joe Flacco back last year, but he was a stopgap.
Yeah.
Geno Smith, whatever you say, 36 or whatever, he's a real quarterback. Like, nobody's going to sit here and go, he's not a legitimate quarterback in this league, or at least hasn't been. He has taken teams to the playoffs. He's been to the Pro Bowl, whatever that means. He's been comeback player of the year, all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But again, I think that's a real answer. And if you could knock that out immediately with your offseason plan and be like, this is done, at least for this year, which is all I really need, then I could take all my attention and go, wide receiver, offensive lineman. How do I make this thing work around him? And then, because we're all talking about whether it's Shedeur, and again, I cannot state this enough. I want Shedeur to compete, if he's that guy, or Dylan Gabriel to get good and be that guy. Shedeur certainly looks more realistic of the two. Nevertheless, if Shedeur can beat him, the Browns are in great position. I'm not trying to write him off, but I cannot go into the season and say, I'm a serious franchise. Shedeur Sanders is the only quarterback I'm rolling in with, because that's just not realistic. I don't think anybody can say that with a straight face. But whether it's Shedeur Sanders now or in the future, or quarterback in 2027, even that's the most likely scenario, now I have the freedom to go, I am just going to build this thing up. So even if you're like 2026 isn't a great year by any stretch, that modicum of improvement, but still, not there, you're in so much of a better situation to let go. Now we're ready to put a quarterback behind this thing. and hopefully finish the offensive line and suddenly make a move. Now we're talking about where can this team go?
Well, not just that, Pete. If you really break it down, and we talk about it all the time, there's so much when it comes to team building, and especially finding a quarterback where it's almost luck. You have to hope that guys are available. Like, you can have a need all that you want, but there's not always a guy that is going to be available at your selection or on the market or whatever it is to fill that need. So I like Shedeur. I want Shedeur to get the chance to compete this year. I'm with you. I'm thinking that 2027 first round is where we're going to get our quarterback. But if you pull the trigger on a Geno Smith trade and you get him in the building, then you're at least Geno Smith good at quarterback for the foreseeable future. Because it's not impossible that he plays his way into a 2-year extension. And then he's like kind of a 3-year, steward of the position while you figure things out and hope that a guy falls. If not, at least you have Geno Smith to compete at a high level while you're making your way through the whole process. I mean, just because we want a quarterback, I mean, we've seen it for 20 plus years. Just because we want a quarterback, they're not always there. And it's not always the right year.
The thing is, like, you get into this mindset of like the year previous is who they are. And this works in two directions. One, you can get a guy who's really bad and be like, I don't want him because he was super bad. But that also is an opportunity to theoretically buy low. The other possibility, and let's look at a guy like Alec Pierce, best year of his career, obviously, or Kyle Pitts, best year of their career. This is the time for them to cash in. But that may not be who they are. And this is like the people point to Jerry Jeudy and go, okay, 2024 is probably as good as it's ever going to get. Maybe that's true. We'll see. But like, even if you just average it out, if Geno Smith is halfway between what he was with the Raiders and the Seattle Seahawks, the Browns are better for it. So like, that's where like the price is going to should be very low. I'm not trying to give up a whole lot for this guy in a crappy quarterback market. So I'm looking at this and going, I want to nail this and get it done and be able to be like, and we're out of here, because I don't want to be in a situation. I'm not trying to chase after Malik Willis. I'm not trying, like, I totally understand if Todd Monken and Andrew Berry want to make a sales pitch to him because they're going to take their best shot and go, we don't know how long we're going to be here. We got to try something. But if I'm Malik Willis, I'm like, I'm not going there.
Yeah.
They will have not done anything yet.
Yeah.
Malik Willis will look at this team and go, you have no line and not enough weapons. Like you mentioned the Miami Dolphins tearing it down. Like,
well, that's the whole thing too. These are his top two choices through the media right now, Pete. Neither one is very appetizing.
Well, like, let's be honest. The guy, even if Mike McDaniel was still there and Chris Greer was still there, the guys they got rid of, they were going to get rid of.
Yeah.
Like they particularly Tyreek Hill, that one was a given. Like everybody knew that was
how about this? If I could throw this at you, word on the street is Jalen Waddle is basically telling the front office, "Do me next." Is that a guy that intrigues you?
All right,
it's tough.
Give me a second.
Because, like, good Jalen Waddle is an animal. Bad Jalen Waddle hangs around a lot too.
If I am the Dolphins, I'm sitting there going, I've got Patrick Paul, whatever you think of him at left tackle. I've got Jonas Savaiinaea at guard. I've got a really good center. I've got pieces in place on the offensive line. I have Jalen Waddle. I have Devin Achane. I have no state taxes. I have Miami. And obviously 2 Green Bay guys, which is where you just were. Yeah. Like, there's a lot more there for him. But like, the sneaky teams are Indianapolis. Pittsburgh can throw their hat in the ring. I don't think that's a particularly appealing option either. But nevertheless, there are other teams out there that could be sneaky. I just, because of just the way the calendar works, free agency comes first, and Malik Willis is going to be the guy, like the priority, unless he's going to take his sweet time and like see where these things, the everything play out. But I think teams are going to throw a lot of money at him. He's not going to want to wait around. He's going to want to take a great deal. So I get why the Browns would go that route. I don't think it's realistic. Now, as far as Jalen Waddle goes, Miami Dolphins were willing to trade Jalen Waddle to the Buffalo Bills last year for a first-round pick and some change or whatever. The Bills were not willing to pay that price. which has obviously drawn a fair amount of criticism.
Mhm.
I'm not paying that.
Of course.
And I don't think the Dolphins are going to take like a discount rate at this point.
Yeah.
So I think that because they didn't get that trade done, I think they're going to stick with it and basically just tell him, yeah, I get it, but we're new here. Let's see where this thing goes, and hang on. But no, I have no interest in making a 24th pick, for example. I have no interest in giving that up for Jalen Waddle. I think he's a very good player. I just don't think he necessarily fits where the Browns are right now, to then throw another big draft, another draft pick to then have to pay another major contract.
Yeah.
With no quarterback at that point.
Yeah, no, agreed completely on that. All right, let's go. This one I found interesting. How about Dawson Knox from the Buffalo Bills?
I don't think he's going to get franchised, but he.
Well, no. This is the
cut kid.
Yeah.
What does he make that they would need to cut him?
I want to say they gave him an extension. He's over 10 a year. And with Dalton Kincaid coming up on his extension, it just makes sense that Knox might get squeezed out. But before they did the upgrade with Dalton, he was tough. He was good. He's an inline guy. He can block. Like, I don't know. I like him.
Well, if I'm the Bills, I'm not getting rid of him because I don't have any receivers.
Yeah.
It's Khalil Shakir and guys. So Dawson Knox is one of my primary guys right now. So I can't afford to throw him away. Now, unless Joe Brady has some wildly different vision for this team, right now, the Buffalo Bills at their best are big offensive line. Dawson Knox is a Y, running the ball with James Cook and Josh Allen trying to make some plays with that. But I can't afford to give him up if I'm them. I'm a power team right now, and makes sense for Buffalo given where they are in climate. But they're going to have to keep trying to swing for a receiver at the same time. So until I've come up with an answer at that receiver position that I can comfortably say is a real guy, a number one type receiver, I can't be getting rid of this guy.
Okay, well, for the sake of this argument, this is if these guys get cut, are you interested as the Browns?
Yes.
Okay. And I agree with Dawson Knox on that. How about Kansas City potentially moving on from Jawan Taylor? And again, not a great player. I'm certainly not saying anything along those lines. And the next name on the list is in the same spot. But again, this is a team that needs 5 offensive linemen. They can't all be the prettiest bell of the ball.
Yeah, well, Browns fans would hate him in 20 minutes.
Of course.
He would be the most reviled offensive lineman this team has had in years. Because he would line up.
They would call
Cam Robinson look clean as far as pre-snap penalties.
Yeah,
he lines up too far in the backfield. He's always cheating to get an edge.
Yeah,
I mean, you have to at least entertain the option based on you have to price it out.
Yeah,
I'd have to at least look, but like I would not look forward to having to deal with the people who cannot stand him and then want to blame coaching because this dude consistently lines up too far in the backfield.
How about Mekhi Becton? Signed a 2-year, $20 million deal a year ago. If he gets cut after a year after that with the career he's had, he's going to be a sub 10 a year guy. You wouldn't entertain that?
I'd rather just try to work out a deal with Tevin Jenkins because they're both injury risks and Jenkins is probably going to be cheaper. Would not shock me at all if Mekhi Becton if that were to happen, he goes right back to Philadelphia. Yeah.
Oh, I can see that for sure. Okay, so this is the one I alluded to earlier about Andrew Berry having his eyes on his Brandon Ayuk for the 49ers. I want nothing to do with this guy in any way, shape, or form, but Berry likes him. Berry's been after him for a couple of years, and I could see him jumping if the price was right. How do you feel about it? This is the strangest situation. I still don't understand what the hell's going on out there. I know he's got the bad knee, but I just how did things go so bad so fast?
Yeah, I don't know how much of this is just Brandon Ayuk is just a different dude.
Yeah.
So yes, Andrew Berry has been infatuated with Brandon Ayuk, but Brandon Ayuk told them straight up, "I don't want to come to Cleveland." Yeah. So obviously, this could change things in terms of how willing he is to go to Cleveland.
Yeah, but we don't take no for an answer, Pete. You know that.
But I don't think he fits with where the Browns are going right now. His injury history is now terrifying.
Yeah.
And frankly, I think he's going to end up in Washington. They're more than happy to roll old. He can potentially replace Deebo Samuel to give them another weapon there. The former 49ers assistant GM or whatever is the guy. I think it's Adam Peters is the guy who now runs Washington. So there's some familiarity there. That guy will have a better sense. Well, let's put it this way. I would absolutely want to use Washington as a barometer of interest, because if that guy's not going anywhere near him, I'm like, okay,
he's a different dude.
But like, there is certainly a point where cost benefit analysis says go ahead and sign him. I just think it's going to be too much for what the Browns want to do. I could see a team like Buffalo being like, sure, we'll take a shot, because they need receivers. I could see the Steelers doing it. Like,
the Steelers almost traded for him. The Steelers were the team that was closest. Yeah. So
I can see a whole lot of these teams. Obviously, Mike Tomlin not being there could be a huge change in that.
Yeah.
But, again, they are a compete now. They're not trying to rebuild or any of these things. Ayuk is a not rebuild type player. So that's the other part of this is, 1 year contract or 2 year where you can get out of the second year. I could see that being a thing where the Browns are interested. Anything more than that, where he's asking for guaranteed money or whatever over multiple years, is an instant no. I don't think he's going to get that anyway, just based on his situation. But yeah, it's a very strange situation for him. I'm not interested. I am tired of dealing with, I don't want to deal with dysfunctional people, and he's proving to be. And I don't know what his side of the story is. We haven't heard anything from him, but why he has become so dysfunctional.
Well, and this is a competitive franchise that's competing for a Super Bowl year in and year out, and they overpaid you, and you're still having issues. That's kind of crazy to me. But either way, I mean, look, the league is filled with guys that are different.
Oh yeah.
What's that?
I said, oh yeah. I mean, there are teams that are willing to take that. Like, wouldn't shock me if Seattle's like, screw it, we'll take a shot at you. Get revenge twice a year as you try to win a ring. But they're in a position where they can do that now. Seattle is a little bit more choosy in terms of the types of people they bring in. Pete Carroll is not in there anymore, where he's trying to save everybody. Yeah. And if he was with the Raiders, I would pin them as a team still. But there's always a coach. There's always a GM that's like, I can make it work. I don't know that Todd Monken is that guy. I don't. Andrew Berry loves hard, so maybe he's still willing to at least consider it. My hope is that he's sitting there going, you know what, that Mekhi Lemon guy looks pretty good, or Carnell Tate looks pretty good. I'm just going to go that route.
All right, so I got another offensive lineman here. We got Elton Jenkins from Green Bay as a possibility.
Doctors need to evaluate him.
Yeah,
I can't guess on that.
Yeah,
but it's been injuries. Like, he was a really good player.
Yeah,
but injuries are the question. So if your doctors are good with him, yes.
Okay, my last two names on the list. We got a couple of tight ends. We got T.J. Hawkinson from Minnesota, who's got injury issues recently, and then this one definitely piqued my interest. Cole Kmet.
Between the two, I'd rather get Kmet.
Yeah, same.
Again,
I like both.
Hawkinson's a very good player.
Yeah.
Look, in a world where this really happened, could go right to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
They need a tight end. They're in, again, and now all those things, I could see it. Again, Hawkinson is a good player. It just doesn't fit where the Browns are right now. I think they want to get obviously Charlie Kolar is sort of perfect for them, but I think they want to get a guy where they can go, hey, here's a 3-year deal where you're going to be here at least 2 of those years, or a 4-year deal that you're here at least 3 of those years.
Yeah.
Hawkinson's really good. It's just not a good fit in terms of schedule. Cole Kmet's a pretty good player. Now, I don't think Chicago's going to do that. I think he's a really good fit with what they have. But yeah, of those two, I think Kmet would be more interesting to me.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on a little bit. I've got some stuff that I want to throw at you. I've got 5 free agent fits, and we're going to do this every week leading up. Just different guys every week, and just see what you think about their fit or the potential or anything like that. Let's go with Arizona offensive tackle Jonah Williams. Former first rounder, guy out of Alabama. He's had some injury issues, but he's kind of steadied the ship recently.
His issue is just staying healthy.
Yeah.
Now, the benefit is he doesn't have to block Myles Garrett outside of practice, which he could not do.
Huge.
Just could not do.
Yeah.
He is a lot what the Browns have a lot of, which is guys who don't
play,
stay.
but you can't rely on.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense, but like, there's a whole lot of people like projecting Arizona to take a right tackle because they don't feel good about him. And this was the same thing with the Bengals. Yeah, he was a pretty okay lineman, but like people hated him. Now, obviously, if that's your best option, again, is a 1-year stopgap while you're trying to hopefully draft somebody over him. Great. I don't know how receptive he's going to be to that. I assume he's going to want to go somewhere where he can potentially play more competitive football than that. But I'm certainly going to at least consider it. Again, what are my doctors telling me? Do they feel good about him being able to stay healthy? How many Tevin Jenkins / type guys do we need, or DeJuan Jones, all these guys you're sitting there going, yeah, it's pretty good when they're healthy, but like that never happens.
Okay. How about Philadelphia wide receiver Jahan Dotson?
No, it does nothing for me. Like, I don't want it. Like, you're going to have a really tough time selling me on any free agent wide receiver.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But like, I remember when they traded it was very curious to me when Washington
traded in division. Yeah.
Well, they did that like right when they got Jaden Daniels, and everybody's sitting there going, why the hell did they do that? And obviously Washington went to the AFC Championship. We all shut up. But like a year later, look, you go back to going, why did they do that? Now, I don't think the Eagles were trying to get a real wide receiver for 3. He did not deliver at all in that capacity. So, I have no interest. I like what Jerry Jeudy brings. I think if you get him a real quarterback, he's going to be a whole lot better. But I want to put a wide receiver at the top of that depth chart and slide everybody down. I think they're going to be right in where they should be.
You don't think that Dotson would immediately slot in as the number 2 and be better than the rest of the guys in the building?
Better than Jeudy or better than
No, it's the 2. Judy's the one in this scenario.
I mean, I think when he's underwhelming as a 3 in Philadelphia, it's not you're aspiring to get something out of him that I don't think he's shown he can do.
Yeah. Well, not to give too much pushback on that. I feel like Philadelphia's passing game is so helter-skelter. It's tough to really bitch about the 4th option. You know what I mean? Because you're obviously going to have AJ Devontae and then Dallas Goedert, and then obviously Saquon. I mean, there's only so much of the pie that can go around. I've always been intrigued with Dotson. He's so physically talented. I love the extra gear. I don't know. I mean, I see a talented look. I like the idea of buying low on a talented receiver that just hasn't gotten great opportunity yet. Not that the Browns are a great opportunity, but you never know. You might catch lightning in a bottle. That sort of deal.
The question I have is, are you really buying low? Or are teams going to just pay stupid money for free agent wide receivers? Because that's
always possible. That's always possible. I mean, I don't think anybody on this list I want to sell out and break the bank for. But I mean, that's a guy that I think at least upgrades your wide receiver room. All right, so Carolina's got a couple of centers, right? They've got Austin Corbett of past Browns fame, and then Cade Mays, and both guys are free agents. Cade Mays is 26. Austin Corbett's 29 or 30. It's going to be 30 next season. Either of those guys catch your fancy at all? Carolina's run the ball really well the last couple of years. Ever since Canales got there, they've kind of re-emphasized. They've run the ball really, really well. And Corbett had some injuries this year, so Cade Mays stepped in and played pretty well. And again, this is like I'm not a big Luke Whippler guy. I think he's a nice player, but I think he's physically limited, and he's essentially going to be a backup. And if he's your starter, you need to make an upgrade. You need to make a move there. So I've got my eyes on center all off season.
It would not be Corbett for me.
Okay.
because he's finished the last 3 years with season-ending injuries. Like,
Yeah.
not good. Obviously, my preference is Linderbaum, but failing that, Cade Mays is at least interesting, and
Mhm.
Cade Mays at least has played some guard. I mean, Corbett has as well, but like,
Yeah.
if you could get Cade Mays, you could you could theoretically do Linderbaum and Cade Mays and have a spot
Yeah.
for both of them. I don't know if that's necessarily the optimal path, but if you're asking me which of those two I'd want to target, it would probably be Mays. But I'm not sure that I love either one.
Yeah. Well, I lean towards Mays too. He's younger. He's coming off a rookie deal, hopefully coming into his own. Corbett, I'm intrigued by any starting level offensive lineman at this point. Like, I just am. It's going to be a numbers game with us. We're not going to be able to get premium guys at every position. So I've definitely lowered the bar for like what I'm looking for in a starting player on this line for this offseason. But I do like what both guys represent. So number 4 on my list here, Pete, is intriguing as hell to me because and it's another, it's another big time injury concern. But dude, Elijah Vera Tucker is so freaking good. And I feel like he's going to hit the market, and I have no idea what his price range is going to be. But man, if it's just bad luck with him and he can stay healthy, he's legit. He's really, really good.
Of the guys where you're going to say but injuries, he's certainly probably the best option of all of them. He's right in the right age range. He is legitimately very talented. He can lock down a guard spot.
He played tackle at a high level. He's really, really good.
But yeah, I mean, that's been the thing. He's gotten hurt, and
and
it's
major injuries too.
Yeah, like with the Jets, where you had, you took him in the first round, you took a center reasonably high, and then you added 2 first-round tackles, and you're sitting there going, still hoping that the issue is dealt with, but you're not entirely sure, and you're now potentially going to let this guy walk. Yeah, so I like I said, of the guys that have injuries, he's certainly the most intriguing. But again, what does that deal look like? What can you get that doesn't involve you handing over a ton of money and guaranteeing it? Because he could step in and obviously be an immediate starter at left guard.
Yeah. I mean, left guard, right guard, left tackle, right tackle. Honestly, if we sign him, he's our most talented lineman, and he plays wherever you need him to play.
Perhaps I think his best fit is still guard, but yeah.
Well, it's a long off season to go, Pete. But I agree with you. His best position is guard, but I feel like if we kick back the hands of time and we go to 2018, we should have swung Joe Bitonio outside to left tackle and just like handled that for that season and then tried to fix it moving forward from that. I mean, the fact that who is it? Harrison, right? Desmond Harrison? Is that the guy that we rolled out until who was it? Greg
Robinson.
Greg Robinson answered all our prayers for like an 8-game stretch.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, number 5 on my free agent fit list, and this is just because we're going to add a veteran quarterback, and I figured this one would be fun to talk about. How about Zach Wilson from Miami?
Nope. No, because you're just adding another backup quarterback. Like, I get the idea. You took a quarterback who was drafted 2nd overall.
Yeah.
There must be something there that made him worth 2nd overall.
Well,
didn't see it when he came out. Don't see it now. Have seen nothing out of him that suggests he's anything. So not interested. And like people keep pitching like, these project quarterbacks. The Browns have 2 of those plus Watson. If you're going to add a quarterback, it's got to be somebody you're going, that guy can step in and play football.
What if they can't add that guy? Like what if somebody else swings the trade for Geno? What if they don't really say what's his name? Oh my gosh, his name's escaping me. He was with us a couple of years ago. He was in Baltimore last year. What's that?
Oh, Tyler Huntley?
Tyler Huntley. Yeah. Tyler Huntley.
This is what
we're looking at, Pete. What do you mean? I don't understand how to explain to you that we don't get to pick and choose, okay?
Tyler Huntley was QB5 here.
First of all, you're talking about former Pro Bowl quarterback Tyler Huntley, so you say his name with respect.
Like, coaches love Tyler Huntley,
Yeah,
but not enough to put him on the roster because
yeah.
the Baltimore
Well,
Ravens,
not at the start of the year. They'll
Baltimore
turn to him
Ravens-
later. But
Baltimore Ravens were perfectly content to let Tyler Huntley walk to Cleveland twice, be the guy who showed up in the preseason game 3,
yeah,
and then get cut and then walk right into the building and go, okay, we got our backup. Like, it's preposterous to me. So, like, coaches like him. He seems smart. He seems to understand what he needs to do. Now, you need to have a ton of talent around him to make it work. But, like, Tyler Huntley is always there.
well,
Always there.
If it's not Geno Smith, who's it going to be?
Oh, well, first of all, if you can't get Geno, I'd look at Jacoby Brissett.
Okay.
You
Well,
can
is
make
he under contract still, or is he a free agent?
I think he's a free agent, but I could be
He's a
wrong.
free agent?
I would look at Jameis Winston, who
Yeah,
is under
200%.
contract.
I would love James.
He's under contract, but I don't think it would take much to get him.
Mm.
And then you could talk yourself into somebody like Marcus Mariota or somebody like that long before you get to Zach Wilson. There's a lot of guys still to go before I get to Zach Wilson. Philip Rivers, what are you doing? Let's
That's not fair.
Listen, you didn't die the last time you were out there behind the Colts line. Maybe it's time to run it back for a full season. Derek Carr's coming out of retirement. I'd roll that before I got to Zach Wilson.
There's no way you would pull the trigger on Derek Carr. You absolutely would.
100%. Would pull the trigger. Still love Derek Carr. Still look. It's a shame. He has never been the same quarterback since he broke his leg. But yeah, before Zach Wilson, yes.
All right.
Yes.
Well, so and I know that the last time I was on this website, you told me to stay off of it, but Spot Track at least has Jacoby Brissett as not a free agent.
Okay. Well, if he's under contract, then they've got their starter, I guess.
Well, let's see here. I'm gonna go over the list, and you tell me, like, you just say a name that would intrigue you. All right, because obviously number 1's Daniel Jones. Number 2 is Aaron Rodgers. I know those are 2 no's. Russell Wilson.
Listen, Aaron Rodgers can play for me before Zach Wilson does.
Russell Wilson, obviously no. So Marcus Mariota's 4th on the list. You give a yay for Marcus. Tyrod Taylor, I won't even allow you to say yay. I'm going to say no for both of us.
Over Zach Wilson, yes.
How about Kenny Pickett? You want to kick the tires on Kenny Pickett again?
Before Zach Wilson, yes.
Wilson. All right, we got Jimmy G. We got Mitchell Trubisky.
No.
How about Trey Lance?
That's the one. That's one where I'd rather go with Zach Wilson.
how about Trey Lance? Any intrigue in?
No, this is another guy who he's in the same boat.
Yeah,
he's another guy who gets pitched to me. Well, maybe they can finally figure it out. Look what he did with Harbaugh in the preseason. Like, no.
All right, we got Tyler Huntley's way down the list. He's next to Skylar Thompson. Surprised that
Skylar Thompson lit it up for the Steelers in preseason.
He really did.
Tore it up. Like,
because he had Will Howard breathing down his neck. He had to.
With Steelers fans, I know I was giving them crap. I was like, "You sure you don't want to keep Skylar Thompson over Mason Rudolph?"
All right. Well, let's pivot over to 5 trade market fits. And these aren't necessarily my idea. This is stuff that, you see on the internet. Well, one of them's my idea, and you're probably going to know exactly which one that is. So I'll let you just laugh out loud when you hear it. But number 1, and this, I think we like the idea of this player, but the price is likely to be prohibitive, is Mac Jones.
The problem with Mac Jones, he's going to make like $3.75 million this year.
That's so why would San Fran move him?
And Brock Purdy, is a really good quarterback who gets hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And Mac Jones steps right in. He's in the perfect system for him. They've got a ton of talent around him. It allows him to be the best he can possibly be.
And not for nothing, Pete. What happened this year when Brock Purdy got hurt?
Yeah, he stepped in and played well.
He was fantastic. And he's the sole reason that he kept that team together through all those injury issues, because it wasn't just Purdy. They had a crazy list of injuries this year.
Now, so if I'm the 49ers, I'm sitting there going, 2nd round pick. Okay, I'm listening. but I have no
No.
incentive to help you out for less than that.
Yeah.
Zero. And then the other problem with that is you are trading. If you are trading a second round pick for him, you are
getting
signing
an
into a
extension.
contract extension.
Yep.
Which I'm not willing to do. And
But
it
that
just
takes you out of
reminds me.
2077. Yeah.
It reminds me of Andy Reid with the Philadelphia Eagles just turning over these Kevin Kolb and those those various quarterbacks for picks, and they went to these other teams, and at least one of them I think got a serious injury in the shower allegedly. But like they kept doing it. They traded one to Miami, they traded one to Arizona.
You remember the Miami one? They traded AJ Feely for a second-round pick.
There you go. Like it was AJ Feely, Kevin Kolb. It was one was another was like a famous sibling, and I can't remember who it was. Regardless, they kept doing this over and over and over and over. Detmer was another. Yeah. Coy Detmer was another one in that line, but they just like everybody kept going, oh man, whoever steps in place for Philadelphia is really good, and then teams kept going, well, they could be really good for us, and they're not. And I think Mac Jones is the same thing. It's not to say he will be bad; he just will not be this good.
Yeah.
So
you're not getting the players and the coaching with him. You're just getting him.
Yeah, can I have George Kittle? Can I have all these other guys? Can I have Trent Williams? Okay, then I'm listening, but I can't get all those things. I can't get Kyle Shanahan in that deal. So I'm not interested. It's prohibitively expensive. I don't think anyone's going to bite on that. And the 49ers are going to be like, cool, we've got a really good backup quarterback. And if Brock Purdy goes down for an extended period of time, or he just struggles, we can roll right in. This becomes a fantastic situation for them. They signed him to a great contract. He wanted to be there. It's a great deal. So I don't see it. It makes no sense to me. And the other part about this is like nothing about Todd Monken to me goes is sitting there in his office going to Andrew Berry going, I got to have Mac Jones. Like that's my guy. Like I just don't. And I don't know who is the coach that's doing that either. Yeah. Like who's the guy going, I got to have Mac Jones on my quarterback, pay whatever it takes. Maybe Hugh Jackson is out there with his AJ McCarron type love for him, but like I just don't see the appeal with Mac Jones. I think he's a fine quarterback. I'm not interested in getting a fine quarterback, especially giving up that much. I want a real quarterback, and people keep pitching these ideas of getting, well, we need to be better than this. Great. Yeah. And then we're going to be pissed because this is what we had, because we did this with Baker Mayfield. Like the whole point was everybody goes, well, man, life was so much better with Baker Mayfield. But you ended up being pissed because we had Baker Mayfield. Like you want a real superstar quarterback.
Well, and that's the thing too. Anytime your season is stopped short, whether it be the playoffs or not even making the playoffs, the first thing you look at is whether you have enough at quarterback or not. Yep. And when a quarterback who is one-dimensional like Baker is,
did he die? Let's see. I think he did. He did die. So yeah, Mac Jones, not interesting to me. Just
hey, look at that.
Oh, you managed to fight your way back, kind of.
Yeah.
You gonna make it? Doesn't seem like it. The other Mac Jones just reminds me of like people who are still trying to find who are desperately hoping to get find their new Brian Hoyer. That's just the vibe I get from Mac Jones. Like, yeah, Brian Hoyer is okay. Brian Hoyer is not winning you a championship. Brian Hoyer is, the middle of the road quarterback, which might be okay for a short stint, but that's not a real answer. And you don't want to pay that guy real money, and you don't want to trade real assets for him. If you were to trade for Mac Jones and he was okay, you'd be very pissed if the Browns ended up giving a second-round pick for him on a team that needs young players, that needs guys that can help this team both now and into the future. Like if 39th pick, which is pretty damn high up there, you give up what amounts to be a starting guard, for example, or another tackle that you want to develop, you're going to be annoyed at the prospect of giving up a second-round pick for Mac Jones. It's just an underwhelming, exercise in every way or facet. In addition to the fact that it just doesn't make sense for the Browns to do it, doesn't make much sense for the 49ers to do it. I think both teams are going to be, maybe there's another team that will pursue it, but I think ultimately those talks could go nowhere. The 49ers are going to keep a very good quarterback and have, not quite Steve Young and Joe Montana type situation, but good enough, like a luxury relative to the current NFL at the quarterback position, which is exactly what you want.
You got me?
Kinda. I can hear you.
Is it kind of?
Well, your camera is not doing much, but
facing a one.
You're like fighting it.
All right. No.
I just hear stops and starts and not going anywhere. Your camera's not going anywhere. You might try turning that off, the camera element, seeing if that sort of helps stabilize you. Oops, maybe. Well, now he's trying to reconnect. All right, good. So yeah, that's the problem. Like, I have no problem with trading for a quarterback as a stopgap. I think there's ways to do it, but it comes down to price. Like, I think there are people that don't want Geno Smith, which I get, but I think the price is going to be low enough where you're like, yeah, that's fine if it addressed the quarterback position. And if Jameis Winston were that guy, yeah, you're gonna sit there and go, man, Jameis, we've seen this before, and at least it's entertaining, which notably Jimmy Haslam emphasized in his press conference. He wants the team to be more entertaining. So there's an element, there's an opportunity there in terms of enhancing the entertainment value. But like, if you're giving up like a 6th or a 7th round pick to get one of these guys that can answer your position for this year and allow you to focus on all your assets on these other things, you're going to be happy with the return on investment for that type of acquisition, which is all we're really looking for. I don't want to break the bank financially on any of these guys, although Geno Smith does cost a little bit of money. I don't want to trade real draft picks for any of these guys, but and if there was a quarterback in this draft where I'm like, yeah, take him, I'd be all about it. But there just isn't, unfortunately. This quarterback class basically deferred itself for another year / didn't live up to what it needed to between injuries and some of the other elements. Guys staying in school forever, like Trinidad Chambliss, who is, fighting tooth and nail to stay at Ole Miss, which seems to be a thing that's going to happen this year. He can stay there, and like for some people he's QB2. I certainly wasn't going to go there, but whatever. Clearly he got feedback from the advisory board that it made it worthwhile enough for him to try to stay at Ole Miss and get something like $5 million this season. His rookie contract, given where I think he was going to get drafted, might be worth that much over the course of the entire contract. So it makes all the sense in the world for him to try to make that move. But like, now you're left in a world where after Fernando Mendoza, who's a very good quarterback prospect in my view, to Ty Simpson, who's interesting. There's certainly talent there. I don't know where you want to draft that. And the other part is like, yeah, let's say for the sake of argument, you could take him at 24. I think you'd have to consider it. One, I don't think he's going to last that long. And then two, you might sit there and go, man, I really just would rather wait for next year's class. Obviously, that's a risky choice. But either way, the Browns are going to have to have addressed this long before the draft anyway. So they're going to signal their intent one way or the other long before we get to April. But like, even if you could sort of do this, arbitrarily and say, I can give up 24th pick for Ty Simpson, I don't know how many people are really going to sign up for that, outside of the fact of it represents taking a shot at the quarterback position and taking a real one. Now, given that the Browns have taken 5 first-round quarterbacks since 1999, and 3 of them have been in the 20s, and this would make now a 4th one in the 20s. I think there probably is some hesitation, though. Obviously, people were more than comfortable with the idea of doing that for Jackson Dart last year. So maybe that I'm overthinking that, but like there is a part of me that would really like to take any other big swing because they're 2 non-quarterback picks in the 20s were Tim Couch and Baker Mayfield, and that is those 2 picks were made 19 years apart. And that's just not a very big effort made at the quarterback position. There are multiple teams that have done that, just in the past like decade that have taken that many swings at the quarterback position that high. So it just that's where I'd rather be. Hey, you made it back.
I did make it back. So where were we? Did you discuss Quentin Johnson at all as a potential trade fit?
Oh, I did not. No. Okay. I have no interest in Quentin Johnson. Big target. I get the appeal. Another guy who seemingly look.
You'd have to pay him immediately. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's the pay him immediately. I guess it comes down to price point, I suppose. But if I'm the Chargers, why on earth would I be getting rid of a good receiver when Justin Herbert doesn't have that much help? Yes, Ladd McConkey is very good or pretty good. His first year was certainly better than the second.
Yeah.
And I've got a really interesting tight end, but they don't have a whole lot there. So if the Chargers are willing to move off of a guy like Quentin Johnson, it raises questions for me. Yeah. So, yeah, I think there is reason to believe that he can be effective. I just don't know that I'm willing to pay the price for it.
Okay. And now this one, we've talked about this one ad nauseum. Brian Thomas Jr. from the Jaguars.
Yeah. So the Jaguars have recently thrown a curveball into this mix.
With Travis Hunter being a full-time corner and part-time receiver.
Yeah. I don't know how that's going well in I don't know how that's going over with the Jags fans that saw their team trade 5th pick in the draft, 36th pick in the draft, and their first round pick, which is going to be 24th this year, for a corner who might play some receiver. Now, what does that really mean? Unclear. I mean, presumably it's going to be full-time corner, and then his part-time receiver might be particular packages. It might be certain things they want to do. It might be game situations. I guess it would be helpful to know more info about that. But before we get there, they have Brian Thomas Jr., who had a phenomenal rookie year, wasn't as good this year. Meanwhile, they get Parker Washington, who seemingly was Travis Lawrence's dude.
Yeah.
This year, they trade for Jacoby Myers, who they then immediately paid. So now he's a big part of this. They've got somebody else I'm missing.
Tim Patrick was there, but he's a vet.
Yeah. But like all of a sudden, and I looked at this sort of like post trade deadline when apparently there were at least discussions about the possibility of moving him through where they ended up. And like Brian Thomas Jr. was getting 1 out of like every 6 targets for a guy you took in the 20s. Like it doesn't seem like you're getting return on investment the way you'd like, or at least at this point, you're not prioritizing in the way you would think. Does that then make him a trade option? That being that the problem there being because they have this entity in Travis Hunter and how they want to use him is sort of yet to be really fleshed out. Oh, and I forgot Brenton Strange. That's the other guy I was forgetting. That's a pretty big part of their offense. They can sort of like play it off of their situation. In other words, Travis Hunter might be way more a corner if Brian Thomas Jr. is still on the team. He might be a lot more wide receiver if Brian Thomas is not on the team. And that might be in a situation where the Jags are like, yeah, we can still demand a high price for a guy like Brian Thomas Jr. and perhaps higher than I'd be comfortable paying. But that's really what it comes down to. I'd be betting on the talent. He's 24. I'd want to know, what the background is there, that what are the issues. He had some drops. But he is 6'3", he is 200 pounds, and he can go. He is fast. Just a dynamic playmaker that you can immediately put at X, deep threat type. If you get a guy with an arm, he can immediately stretch the field and cause all kinds of problems. So he would be a really good player, the exact type of receiver I would think the Browns would be interested in, because it's about getting a guy who's coming into his own at the best part of his, he'd be a third-year player.
Yeah.
With still rookie deal left, to then figure out just how good he is and then potentially pay him after that. It comes down to price, because I could be very tempted to that now still. And I could be tempted to do that and still draft a receiver at 6 overall.
Yeah.
But,
what is the highest price you would pay for Brian Thomas Jr.?
Well, my hope would be a second-round pick in some sort of pick swap. Second for like a fourth and him. If I maybe gun to my head, I might consider just giving up the second-round pick for him. If, I can do, if my people can do the research and they feel good about him.
Yeah.
As a person, as to what he's going to bring to the locker room and everything from like that. I'd want to know all that information, but 39th pick for that type of receiver is not out of the question, because you are getting somebody, again, to me, it's Mekhi Lemon, Carnell Tate, and Casey Concepcion are like the dudes. Obviously, Jordan Tyson would be without the injury concerns. But after that, 39th pick for a guy who has the tools to be a top-level receiver, that's probably a pretty good deal, even though you're, third year in the contract and all that. But, I would hope there's some sort of pick swap action there, so I don't lose out entirely on a pick.
Okay. Number 4 on my list, and this is an old favorite of mine, Will Levis, quarterback, Tennessee Titans. Any interest there for a 7th rounder?
In trading for Will Levis, no. No, absolutely.
If he gets cut, would you sign him? Is there any sort of intrigue on Will Levis, or am I on my own little island here?
If he's cut, I'd be, if I've got a whole list of guys I've gone through, and now Will Levis is there. Yeah,
he's got to be over. What's his name, isn't he?
Zach Wilson. He is over Zach Wilson. Yeah,
that's something to grow with.
I mean, at least the fact remains he can at least throw the hell out of the ball. It can go really far. Now, I don't know which team it's going to go to, but yeah, I mean.
Well, looking at Tennessee the last 2 years, okay, especially looking at Cam Ward this year. Cam Ward looked exactly like Will Levis did a year ago. That's a bad team and a bad offense. I don't envision many quarterbacks being able to thrive in those scenarios. And don't get me wrong, I know Will Levis has all sorts of issues because he kind of channels Brandon Weeden anytime he gets into a lot of trouble, and he gets the decision making that you could write articles about. But I got to tell you, man, he's put together. He's a big, strong kid. He's an athlete. He's got a great arm. And look, you can see his very first start with Tennessee threw 4 touchdowns. There's talent there, Pete.
He is coupon Jeff George, and Jeff George kept getting opportunity after opportunity for real draft assets.
Yeah,
real first round picks. Just people were enamored, and he was a different dude in terms of how he could ball, but Will Levis has some of those things to his game where teams are going to keep looking at him. It's not that much different than some of the other guys you mentioned, except he's at least played some football games. Yeah. He's at least shown some success on the field, but he is, I think Jameis aspires to be him in terms of the range of outcomes on a given play.
Jameis is pretty. He's got a pretty wide spectrum there too, bud.
Yeah, I think Will Levis is even further.
All right. Well,
I don't think Jameis Winston has underhanded the ball the other team.
Well, first of all, we could probably go back to 2019, and there's 30 opportunities in there where we might have found one of those. It's definitely possible.
The old just randomly chuck the ball in a random direction that gets the Whedon
All right.
move.
All right. So my final trade option, who you heard a little bit of rumblings, and you've heard it ever since they drafted Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer from Las Vegas. It's another inline guy.
The Browns messed around with this last year.
Yeah.
And Chip Kelly wouldn't do it.
Well, Chip Kelly ain't there anymore, buddy.
Right. So the question is, are the Raiders still as attached to as they were? Now, he is a wide tight end, and they've got an F in Brock Bowers. So they got a really good setup, and he's at least a talented player.
Yeah.
I don't think that is your first option. I think it is a situation where that is something you look at in a world where you strike out free agency, or Charlie Kolar re-signs with the Baltimore Ravens, and they don't like Daniel Bellinger, or they don't like some of these other options that could do it. Then I think there's a world where you could circle back and go, okay, we'll look at this again and see if it's any different than the last time. But there was a point in time where this was at least reasonably close, and ultimately Chip Kelly was unwilling to part ways with him.
Okay. Well, I've got one more little list, and again, we're going to do this every week just to basically stack our knowledge on these potential free agents, potential trade chips, and potential draft picks as well. So we talked a little bit either last week or the week before, but I've been doing a deeper dive on some of these receivers. I like Omar Cooper Jr. so much more than I thought I did. He's awesome. He's fun to watch. He really is. He reminds me a lot of Mekhi. He has a lot of those same elements to him, man.
Yes, he does.
He's not physical. I like him. What's your take on Omar Cooper?
Yeah, he's not as good as Mekhi Lemon is. Ultimately, where I end up, the everything with Omar, you're right, 100%. He has even more missed tackles forced. He is a beast with the ball in his hands. I like him better than Sherrod. Mm-hmm. I think he's interesting, but everything with him is price point.
Yeah.
My instinct is he's going to go higher than I'd want to pay to get him. I am not taking him 24th. Probably not taking him 39th either. Okay. And I think if I let him go 39, that's it.
Well, yeah. I think it's a stretch he makes it to 39 at this point.
Yes. There's a real world where he could easily go because of the trend that is moving in the league right now. He is right in the mix of those guys in terms of the problems they can create. This is why I think Mekhi Lemon is an easy decision at 6, but people can disagree. But Omar Cooper is maybe more of a bowling ball in terms of how he plays, but Mekhi Lemon is just better than he is ultimately. Yeah. But yeah, the appeal is there. You can see it. He's a slot weapon. He can do all kinds of stuff. He's a big, strong kid. I've always been a fan of receivers in the slot, and you can put out that basically play like running backs.
Yep.
Which he does. Mekhi Lemon does. These are things I like. So I absolutely get the appeal. Indiana's got a whole bunch of players I like, and the price point's just not going to match for me.
Okay. All right. Well, number 2 on my list is, and I feel like I'm going to fight you on this until he's ultimately drafted to wherever the hell he goes. I think we need to talk about Caden Proctor, Pete. I really do. I feel like this is a kid who you're hanging. He's too big. The injuries scare me. He hasn't had a ton of injuries, right? Oh, yeah. He had a shoulder issue. He had an ankle issue when he was a freshman that he played through and didn't miss any time. But that's it. So he's relatively a healthy kid. He's a pretty athletic kid. He's built like a Mack truck, and he plays offensive tackle.
Is he built like a Mack truck, or is he built like a dump truck?
First of all, we don't need to get into the details of things, all right? But I maintain he's not fat. He's in great shape.
He's not fat. He's just big.
Yeah, that could be a good thing. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
It could be. It's, again, my pushback. You look at DeJuan Jones, you look at Mekhi Becton, you look at these supersized guys, and the injuries start coming, and they just don't seem to stop because your joints don't care if it's muscle or fat. It's just weight and pounding and all those things. So I get very worried about that. Now, if Todd Monken comes in here and goes, I'm going to run a heavy gap offense, and I want to put this dude at guard, I'm listening. Like, I don't think you can put him at tackle in the NFL. No, you could certainly draft him and say, we'll see if he can do it. And if he can't, we'll move him to guard. Okay.
Yeah. But where do you feel comfortable doing that?
I don't know. Like, for me, it's probably not in the first round. It is. You at 24 would probably be like, yeah, I'm running a card up for the fat kid. I mean, big kid. But like, if he's sitting there at 39, okay, I'm interested. Like, as a guard, and again, I've mentioned this before, but the thing that worries me about guys who are this big, tempo. Can you keep up? Can you go fast with a guy like this? Or it's like, it doesn't have to be fat. His body does not care.
Yeah.
Can he get up and go at 370 if the Browns want to run hurry up? Or is he going to be the guy where you're sitting there like, do they have to like Byron Leftwich him up to the line of scrimmage or something like that? I don't know the answer to that.
I'm curious to see what he actually measures out at.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see the height and the weight and all that stuff. He doesn't look like he's big, but like I feel like 370 is like different. I don't feel like he looks 370. We'll see. Like whatever he weighs, he carries it well.
Well, I mean, that is the how the evolution of training for these guys has worked. Like going down to the Senior Bowl the last time I was there, and you look at these guys, and you're like, that dude's 330, and you're just like, there's no way. And it's like, because they are not like
they carry it well.
Yes, they like it's crazy what they're able to do in terms of how these guys are sort of built, because they look like they're not like cut up or anything, or they're not like super fat either. They are just like they look pretty normal guys. Other than the fact they are very, very tall and bigger than you, but they don't look like you're going, oh my God, that guy's either how is he breathing right now, or I can't believe he's not just absolutely jacked out of his mind. Yeah, I'm very curious to see what Caden Proctor's going to measure in. Is he suddenly going to come in and be like 350? And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, that he's proven he can get down here. Is he going to stay here? Is this something I've got to worry about? Or is this just going to be who he is in the NFL? Because 345, 350 is a whole different world to me. I think those 20, 25 pounds would make a big difference.
Yeah.
If that's realistic. I don't know the answer to that. But yeah, I get very nervous about the Caden Proctors of the world. I do think there's a too small in the NFL, and I think there's a too big. And for me, I get worried about being too big. And I like what DeJuan Jones made sense at the risk reward spot they took him. Yeah. He was really good when he was healthy, and like it has been, and not his fault, just terrible luck.
Yeah.
So, and Mekhi Becton, the same thing. We're talking about another supersized guy, and he did end up at guard. He is Caden Proctor, what I think will happen. Put him at right guard, and he had a great season with the Eagles with the Super Bowl, but everything else has been injuries and all this other stuff, and he struggled.
Well, you could go to the same school too as Evan Neal. Is another guy, another huge guy that wound up at guard, and even there wasn't great.
Yeah, and he's another guy who he looks more like Proctor than the other two.
Yeah,
in terms of just being a huge man. Now his problem, he just stinks, has stunk in his career, which is what I obviously worry about. And it's not fair to Helmet Scout, but and Saban's not there, so that's a different thing. But you do start to worry about these Alabama guys having the love of football just sucked out of them because we saw it. We saw what happened with Jed Wills, where whatever love he had for football was gone pretty quickly into his NFL career.
Yeah, I agree on that. All right, I got number 3. I've got 2 guys, and they're both injury guys, both ACL guys. I've got Chris Bell with Louisville, and I've got Isaiah World with Oregon. Where do either of those begin to intrigue you?
Yeah, Isaiah World's off my board. Healthy. He was a 4th-round guy for me.
Okay.
He is. I love the hyper-aggression. He gets after people. Now he does some dumb stuff with that hyper-aggression. He will get some stupid penalties, but he just does not seem to have a good plan as a pass protector. And he just gets fooled by stuff. There are way too many clean beats and all that stuff. And just like all the hype for him going from Nevada to Oregon, and he just did not live up to it. To me,
is he another size issue for you? Because he's 6'8".
No, he's 6'8". I don't care about that. I just care about the fact that guys keep getting past him. Like, again, I was really intrigued at him because I watched like cut ups in Nevada, and you're like, wow, he gets off the ball and he is mad at people. I love that. But no, it just does not seem to be there. He's already 23, so it's not like where I'm sitting there going, man. It's not to say he can't develop, but like
Of
it's
course.
not like we're talking about a 21-year-old kid. Chris Bell is a similar deal. Like deep in day 3, maybe. I just hate taking injury guys.
Yeah.
Because you could also throw in Connor Lew from Auburn in there.
Auburn center, yeah.
Of those, he's probably the most intriguing. His was the most. His injury was the furthest back in terms of where he'd be in his recovery and all this stuff. But like that stuff scares me. It's got a really, really bad track record. Also, there's another receiver that does a lot of Chris Bell things that could be had later. Now he has its own issues that you're going to have to deal with, but that is coming out tomorrow as one of the 2 receivers I'm highlighting. But like he does all the Chris Bell things, and he's consistently talked about as a day 3 guy, but he's good. Like he's legitimately really good.
All right. Well, next on my list is Alabama wide receiver Jeremy Bernard. How do we feel about him?
His production's underwhelming, and this was his best year. There's a lot to like tools wise in terms of size and speed, but with 2 different quarterbacks, the same sort of like, he's okay. Like for that position, production is so important. He just doesn't have it.
It doesn't intrigue you at all that his best year came with the best passer that he's ever played with?
But it's still
Millwell's a talented kid, but Ty Simpson's he's a better distributor.
True, but like even with that, it just wasn't good. Like wasn't great. Like if
he's also playing opposite Ryan Williams too. That's got to.
Yeah, but Ryan Williams was worse this year. Ryan Williams was like couldn't catch the ball. Ryan Williams took a major step. Like I think Jeremy Bernard was their leading receiver this year, but just still an underwhelming amount of production. And again, where do you draft that?
Yeah.
So you talk about like round 3, and it's like, okay, so now we're taking another round 3 receiver, which doesn't do much for me either way.
Yeah. You and I are both against that. We had enough of
that. Yeah. I would rather pass on a guy like that. Maybe he'll be successful elsewhere. Again, he's got intriguing tools, but for that position, production is hugely important.
Okay. How about number 5 on my list? This is the last. I've got 2 more. I've got 2 quarterbacks I want to ask you about. But number 5 on my list here is Texas A&M corner Will Lee.
I want to see how he measures out and all that stuff because his profile is interesting.
Is he tall? Is he like 6'2", 6'3"?
6'1", I think. Okay. We'll see. We'll see at the combine.
Yeah.
But he's a big, tall corner, long, plays man, good ball production.
Yeah.
Yes, he has a lot of things that you sit there and go, okay, yeah, like he's intriguing. I think he will go earlier than perhaps I'm prepared to want to spend on a corner.
How early do you think? I've seen anywhere from like late 2nd to early 4th.
Well, once you get to day 3, just get good football players.
Yeah.
That's just it. Get guys you like because at that point, you just find the guys you like, and he would certainly be a premium position. If you like him, scoop him up as quickly as possible. I don't think he's going to last that long. But we'll see. Athletic testing will be big for the corner position. There's a couple guys I like in terms of the big, long corner thing. Like my dream would be just to clone Tyson Campbell, but obviously that can't happen yet. Then you can find some. Like I would love to do that and just get another guy who does big corner things and tackles and is an excellent run support and can play man coverage. Great, but like. The appeal is definitely there for me to try. Obviously, my preference is to re-sign Martin Emerson. Obviously, they're going to have to decide where he is in his recovery and all those things on what I would hope is a cheap 1-year deal that allows him to sort of get back to full strength and then re-enter the market. Seemingly, that would be his best plan of attack because I don't think he's going to get the money, the offers he wants. You get a really strong depth corner. Denzel Ward's going to miss time at some point. You're going to need him. He play, there's comfort there. The Browns like him, all those things. So, but failing that, the prospect of adding a day 3 corner, I don't want to do this.
I feel like it's likely though.
I don't want to do it, but you could probably talk me into doing it at pick 70 as well.
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, to get another guy in there to try to develop and hopefully it's a Martin Emerson like situation where a guy just happens to fall down the board and you're just like, okay, if you insist, I will take the really good player. But there's a number of guys that are sort of interesting to me in that capacity. Julian Neal from Arkansas is certainly one of those guys that could fit that mode. So yeah, I'm curious to see how the Browns play that. And again, this is one of those things. What does Rutenberg want for that room now? Does it change at all? Does it just reinforce what they already have, or does he have a type? Those are interesting questions to find. But yeah, I assume they're going to do something at corner. Emerson would be easy in terms of you've got your three, and maybe there's a world where you can find a fourth, but I don't know if that's the play, or if it's Martin Emerson leaves and then you need one. So then, hopefully one falls in your lap.
How do we, because I know you liked him last year. How do we feel about Miles Harden as a piece in the secondary moving forward? Are you looking to upgrade that, or are you looking to give him an opportunity to, further his development?
I like Miles Harden. I like the way he plays. I like the fact that he doesn't play scared. I like the fact he puts people on the ground.
Yeah.
I am very curious to see what he can do in year 3. But here again, what does Mike Rutenberg want? My inclination is to say if you are going to add something else to the secondary to compete with Miles Harden, get somebody that does something differently than he does, that adds a different dynamic, either bigger or twitchier and even smaller, feisty type player. But what I don't really want to do is just pick another guy that's just like Miles Harden. I'd rather just see what he can do, because if you get something different, you get the opportunity to say, okay, Miles Harden, see what develop, see if you can get better, see if you can do this. But we also have a guy that gives you a completely different thing. Yeah. So let's say you want to add a big slot guy like Jalen Kilgore from South Carolina, who, playing at the same school as Nick Eamon, he has good size, not quite as big, not quite as polished either, but has a ton of production, ton of interceptions, ton of those things. But he's a different type of player than a guy like Miles Harden, where maybe Jalen Kilgore is a guy you're like, yeah, we're fine to have him match up when teams go double tights. We want to put him out there and give you that dynamic, or there's some other, or he's the guy we want to like a heavy run package. Regardless, that is a completely different dynamic than just saying we just want to get another slot guy who's more or less the same thing and just do it. Now, they could do that just for the depth and the competition, but I'd be more inclined to say let's try to get a different look.
So we got Kramer's in the chat says, give me D'Angelo Pons. Now, before you say anything, because I know your issue with Pons, you don't want a small corner like that. I think he's excellent, Pete, but I think he's going to go early. I feel like we would have to, if we would be lucky to take him at 39. I feel like he's going to go top 40. No?
It's a good question, because he's competing, and they're not really the same type of corner, but Avion Terrell, Clemson, is really interesting because he's a little bit more – he's been playing slot.
Yeah.
And he's sort of more of a zone type read and break guy. He's really good. D'Angelo Pons, he's small, but goddamn, he's good. And the thing is with D'Angelo Pons, he doesn't miss tackles. No. His tackle percentage is incredibly low.
I was watching a video of him earlier, Pete, locking down Denzel Boston on the outside, just out physicaling him. He's a feisty kid, man. He's tough.
Yeah. So I'm inclined to let's put it this way. I don't want to take him at 39. He ain't going to make it 70. So this is, again, it's the same conversation with Omar Cooper. Really like the player. I just don't have a place for him.
Yeah.
Short of the Browns trade down from 39 and get a haul, and somehow he's still there at 50. But to your point, I don't think that's going to happen. I think there are going to be too many teams that are going to be we're not waiting around for this.
This guy's a day one nickel, walking away.
Yeah. Now, do I have concerns? I say all of these things. What's going to happen when a tackle gets to him? Or a tight end? What is going to happen to him when a 260-pound man is able to get hands on?
Yeah.
That's where I still have questions. But my God, he's solid on everything. He's an ideal man cover corner. He is just makes tackles. He plays fearless. And then along those same lines, I don't think he's had an injury issue to this point, but he's also sitting there going, one, what does he really weigh?
Yeah.
Because he's listed at 173.
Yeah.
Is he going to like actually measure in bigger than that? Is he going to be actually smaller than that? So there is a part of you that goes, is he going to hold up? Like, is his body going to allow him, or are we going to be dealing with? Because Denzel Ward did not have injury issues in Ohio State. As far as I know, I don't think he missed a game.
No, but he's a.
But he misses
Denzel's another feisty one who plays bigger than he is, and it has punished him in the pros for it.
Yeah, I mean, there are times where he just slams his head into the ball carrier and hurts himself. So I don't love the idea of taking another small corner for all those reasons, and those are things that worry me. But he's a really good football player, and if you just say, is he, does he pass production profile, ball production, on tape, speed, and all those things, it's like, yeah, he does all these things. So it's one of those things, are you living in your fears and all that crap? But here again, 39 is too early for me.
Yeah,
I cannot take another slot corner.
Well, I was gonna say, let me ask you this: is 39 too early for you because you're thinking as the Browns? Like if you were a team with maybe a little more complete roster and a needed corner, like when?
Oh yeah, then absolutely, I'm thinking about it. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm having that conversation because he is that good, and he might be a guy where, if you are I'm trying to think of a good example of a team. I don't know. I don't know what team off the top of my head where you're like close and you play a ton of man coverage.
I could see the Rams take him at the end of the round.
Do they play? Like, I think that to me,
they're more zone, aren't they? Yeah.
I think they go Avion Terrell if they want to do that. But like, because you sit there and you go, Houston makes sense. Well, they have Jalen Petrie. You could say Seattle, but they have guys for that. So I don't know if there's a super clear fit. Like you could sit there and go, well, Pittsburgh makes a lot of sense in some ways, even though they're more of a zone team and they just go, we just want more corners. I don't think that's what they're going to do. I think they're going to draft offense. Mike Tomlin is gone. So I don't know that there's an obvious fit, but like, absolutely, I'd be thinking about if I'm not the Browns who need everything on offense. And, it would feel not unfairly. He's a good player. He does all these things well. And it would still, not unlike taking Caleb Downs at 6, it would feel luxurious to make that pick to me.
No, I agree too. I can't fathom them taking a defensive player before the 70th pick, and even pick 70, I would have to be blown away to go away from the offense and towards the defense. That's just me. But as Kramer brings up in the chat, I just want good football players too. I agree with that completely, and absolutely, D'Angelo Ponz is one of those guys. So Pete, before we go, I've got 2 project third-day quarterbacks that I would love your opinion on. The first one, Arkansas quarterback Taylon Green, 6'6", 230 pounds, runs a 4.4 40. He's got, typical production of like more of a runner than a, nuanced passer, so to speak, but a lot of traits there.
He looks an awful lot, and I'm not saying he's as good because this guy was way better coming out of college.
Vince Young?
No. He looks eerily like Colin Kaepernick.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they're both towers.
Yeah.
And they're both really good with the ball in their hands, and they can throw a little bit.
Yeah. And they throw similarly.
Yes. So he is a project. Like, I wouldn't be interested in him in the Browns because I don't have anywhere to put him.
Yeah.
But if I'm a team like Philadelphia or Buffalo, I am all over this dude, or Green Bay.
Yeah.
This is when you have a quarterback in place and you can just sort of be like, yeah, we can sort of mess around with these type of things. Yeah, he's really intriguing. He's got a long way to go. There's no question, and that's why he's a day 3 prospect. Because if he wasn't, you'd be talking about him more like Jalen Milroe last year. and he's not there. He did some good things at the Senior Bowl, which Milroe didn't do. But his athleticism is very intriguing in the league that we currently exist in. And he's of all the quarterbacks in this class, I think he's probably one of the most interesting. Basically, after you get past the top two, he's right there in terms of guys who are interesting to talk about as quarterback prospects that you could go, I could see a world where this guy's good.
How about, and this only started picking up like the last week, how about Colt Payton out of North Dakota State? What is his buzz? Like, why are we hearing about him now?
Tools. He's got some tools.
He's Taysom Hill-esque, right?
Yeah. Except Taysom Hill did it at a real college. And that's I mean, North Dakota State is in a vaunted program. They're not playing anybody. And that's a difficult world to live in terms of projecting, because your odds just drop off a cliff. When I look at the data analysis done by Jim Coburn and stuff, and even with Miles Harden, you're his strength of schedule is down to here compared to everybody else. You're just the odds are so rough when you're down there. And unless you're trying to get in the case of Miles Harden, you're trying to get a role player. Yeah. You're looking at a guy who is most likely at best trying to be a backup. That's tough. And then it's not like he was great at North Dakota State. They've had better quarterbacks. And to me, when you are trying to sell Cole Payton or the kid from Morehead State or the kid from UConn, and less so with Taylor Green, because I think in most drafts, a guy like that would at least have a conversation.
Yeah.
But when you are going to the lengths you are going to talk about these sort of off the beaten path quarterbacks, it tells you a whole lot about that quarterback class. That you're to your point, who the hell is Cole Payton type thing in terms of conversation? And yet there are people who are should the Browns be interested in Cole Payton? It's this is telling you how not strong this class is, because think about even the last year, we weren't having these conversations about these quarterbacks, and obviously a different class, and not, they weren't around like this. Yeah. But people despise Dylan Gabriel, but Dylan Gabriel's worlds better than a lot of the quarterbacks that are in this class. Short Sanders is infinitely better than a whole lot of the quarterbacks in this class. So when you're down there, you should take stock of the fact that this is who we're talking about. It might be a good indication of how much we're clutching at straws. So as a result, it'll be really interesting to see what happens when we get to the draft. And obviously, there's, particularly for quarterbacks, there's a lot to go. Interviews, the combine in terms of the workout stuff, those who are going to do it, the pro days, all that stuff, the in-person visits and all that. But would it shock anyone if after Ty Simpson that we're waiting till the fourth round till we see quarterbacks go, and then we're seeing a whole bunch of these guys that we're talking about is, hey, aren't these guys interesting as seventh round picks or undrafted free agents? The guys are picking up off the street. And this is absolutely no shot at Cole Payton, but it's just an example. Are we going to, when the draft ends, are we going to be, getting hammered with questions going, should the Browns try to pick up Cole Payton as an example, just to throw a name out there, as an undrafted free agent? I could totally see that being the case. So yeah, that's just, it's a concerning revelation in terms of the draft. And I think that is informative in terms of what you're looking at.
All right, Pete. Well, as usual, great work, great show. Always a pleasure. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us. Thank you to OBR.com and the OBR streaming network for hosting us. Always a pleasure, guys. We'll be back next Tuesday, all off season, more prospects, more potential free agents, all that good stuff. You guys take it easy. Thanks for sticking with us. Pete, see you next week, brother.
Sounds good.